Hey,
Yeah.
hey, Popeye, it's Manny from my barrio.
Oh, hey,
Oh
Uh,
man.
that's right, man. Hey, Manny, you're from the barrio. You know my
Hey,
carnalito,
oh
che,
shit.
you know my
Sí, de
carnalito
hecho.
KFC.
A chingar.
ladies and gentlemen, Carlos Carrasco. What's up, Carlos? How's it going?
Hey, orale, how you doing, guys? Nice to be here with you.
Oh
All
man,
right,
Good.
Awesome, man.
It's
It's an
awesome to
honor,
have you
brother.
here.
It's an honor.
it really
great,
is.
great.
I think a lot of the people we grew up with are gonna be like, "Wow, you're talking to Popeye."
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
still alive, man.
Yeah,
Popeye never dies.
yeah. Popeye never
I
dies in.
guess not.
How does that feel that after so many years, like when did Blood and Blood Out really come out? Like '93,
Yeah, that's about right.
and
We
like
shot it like late 91, 92, and then it came out around 93. Yeah.
and Popeye is still living strong, and like we all love him. You know, everyone that I know
Wow.
loves him.
Yeah, you know what? That's really flattering and that's really humbling, because I mean, when we were making the movie, it was a huge cast, and there were a lot of us, a lot of really good actors, a lot of good writing and stuff. And to me, I was just part of the team doing this job. I really enjoyed it. And then as the movie got more and more and more popular over the years, then it surprised me that all the people kept going, like, "Where's Popeye? We like Popeye. We love Popeye." And, I was talking about it a little bit earlier that in the beginning, because I'm an actor and I've had a long career, I've done a lot of different projects and stuff. And I never expected the Popeye character to become the one, I mean, it's like people in my business, everybody always says, "Oh, yeah, he became famous for this or he became famous for that." They have a particular project that is kind of like, well, that was their breakout. And I mean, we all had high hopes for Blood and Blood Out when we were shooting it. But I really never thought that, over the course of my career, that would be the one kind of really role that would just really become, well, like the signifier, Carlos Carrasco, Popeye, you
Yeah.
know. And I
Became
was,
like your Luke.
yeah, yeah. And I was saying a little bit earlier that I kind of, for a bunch of years, I sort of resisted it, because I'm like, well, yeah, okay, fine, but let's move on. But the fan base is so strong, and the enthusiasm and the love for the project is so great that it just keeps on going and going. And I know some of the other fellas had started to do meet and greets and stuff, and they would tell me like, "Hey, man, you should jump on here, do this," And I was like, "No, man, I don't want to do that." And then but then I kept seeing, that, and plus, let's be honest, there is a financial component here as well.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Because
course.
over the years, I just kept seeing like on online, like all the merchandise. It's funny because the studio just sort of washed their hands with the film when it didn't really do well theatrically,
right.
and they're like, "Okay, that's fine. We're moving on." But the people embraced it, and not only like loving the film and keeping it alive, but making money off of it, frankly, can we be honest? And people over the years would send me like, "Hey, have you seen this? Have you seen that?" And I started seeing like my face on T-shirts and on
Yeah.
mugs and on playing cards and stuff. And I'm like, because after a while you go, like, people are making money off of this,
Right.
Yeah. Somebody
I'm not
is.
getting
Yeah.
one penny, And then the other fellas that had started doing the meet and greets and stuff, they kept reaching out to me like, "Hey, you should do a little bit of this, man. Come in." And I think Jesse, the first time I did a meet and greet was with Jesse, because he lives in Texas, but he was in LA. I'm in California. And he just called me up and he said, "Hey, I'm doing a thing, man, near you. Why don't you come and jump on and join me and stuff?" And I'm like, "Oh, Jesse, I said, okay, fine." So I went out to do one of these things with Jesse. And I saw, I mean, it was incredible, of course I didn't have anything, but Jesse had all his merchandise laid out and, and the people signing and the stuff and the dollar bills, and I'm like, whoa, but I still didn't do it, and then just a couple of years ago, right before the pandemic, I got a call from a promoter a guy named Robert Barrera. He's got he's a promoter. His business is RVB Agencies. He works out of San Antonio. And he said, hey, man, I'm down here in Texas with Miklo, man, and we're going all up and down the state. And people keep asking for you. Why don't you come on down? And I was like, well, I don't know. So anyway, I said, I'll try it. And they flew me down. And I did one of these things with Miklo. And I was like, whoa. I mean, the line of people around the block. And it wasn't so much the whole thing about, the merchandise and we're going to make money and stuff like that. But that's when I really started to experience the fan base one-on-one.
Yeah.
And the fact of the passion. And then I got curious because then I wanted to meet them. And I started asking them, like, what is it about the film? What is it? Why do you like it? And the answers are all so interesting and everything. And then I also started to realize, like, wow, these people really because they didn't treat me like some freak or something, They're really genuinely interested in, like, well, how are you doing, man? You look good. Hey, man, stay well, blah, blah. So there's like this real love, man.
Yeah.
And respect and stuff. And I'm like, it made me really feel really humble about it, man. And like I said, I just thought, wow, I get to like bring this kind of joy and stuff to so many people. I'm like, this is a gift. This is a gift. So I kind of feel like, I need to return that to the community.
Speaking of that, I got a question for you, brother. What got you into acting? What gave you the niche? Like, was there somebody that you saw at the movies where you were like, man, I think I could do that? Or because I know at the time, you and I are a little bit older than these other two cats. So at the time, there wasn't a lot of brown faces on the screen at all. Mm-hmm. So what gave you the acting bug?
Oh man, this is funny because it all the way back to when I was in school. I went to a little tiny Catholic school, with the monjas. And I think I was like around 7th grade or something like that. And one day one of the monjas comes up to me and says, hey, we're going to do a Christmas play this year. And the name of the play was Amal and the Night Visitors, which is about a little crippled boy, and with his mom, and it's set back in the nativity times, and his mom runs like an inn, and one night there's a knock on the door, and Amal, he's a little boy on a crutch, and he opens the door, and it's the 3 wise men, and those were the night visitors. Yeah, it was a Catholic school, so. Yeah.
He was like, "You're gonna play little Popeye."
Yeah,
yeah. So that was my first time on stage. Is like the monjas threw me out there with a crutch, and in front of people and stuff, and I loved it. That's when I got the bug.
Wow!
Like when I was like in 7th grade or something like that, and then I started like looking for like to do plays and stuff like that, and so I started in theater. I really started to look for theater to do and stuff like that. Because I was also, I'm from Panama.
Right.
I grew up in Panama. And back in my day, there was no such thing as a film industry or anything like that. It was all theater. So, I just kept at it and looking for local theaters and doing little theater and stuff like that. And then eventually, one day I got really lucky and I got an acting scholarship to come to the States.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Damn.
Yeah, and
awesome.
that is how I came to the United States, and as theater, studied theater, and then after a bunch of years, I went to New York, started my career in New York, and did put in about a decade in New York, doing mostly theater. Started to do TV and soap operas, the kind of gigs that you do in New York. Yeah. And eventually got out to California, to Hollywood. I didn't come to Hollywood till I was, a little older.
Right.
And Blood In, Blood Out was like, I had only been in LA about 2 years or so, I think. Maybe not even, when I got cast in Blood In, Blood Out.
But what about Speed? That's what me and Ash were talking about. We were like, he was in Speed. That was our boy, man. That was our boy in Speed.
I remember when I first saw Speed, I was like, "A la chingada es Popeye."
Yeah, me too. He's playing a good guy now. It don't work.
Yeah, those two kind of happened, one right after the other.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got Speed after we had finished Blood In Blood Out, and yeah, Blood In Blood Out had come out, and then I got called in to read for Speed, and I got that one too, and that was good. Yeah,
You
Wow, man. I mean, you did good. What was it like working with Keanu?
Yeah,
I
how was that?
I love
the fuck
Keanu.
that vato.
Yeah, I love Keanu, man. I mean, he is such a cool guy. I mean, yeah, Keanu. You know what? Keanu is also like he's real. He's
Yeah,
really down to earth. He has no airs, no nada, and he's about the work, man. He's a serious guy, and sometimes a little too serious. I mean, back then when we were doing Speed, he was like really. People used to say like, no, but he's not friendly. He's just a shy guy, man. I mean, he's a very private guy, and but he was cool. He was. I totally. I'm a big fan of Keanu's, and
Oh,
I'm really
definitely.
happy for everything that's happened to him. I really lucked out. We all were very lucky in Speed because that was really a good group. And it was funny because we had Keanu on the one hand, it was very private, very sort of, low key and stuff. And then on the other side, we had Sandy, you
yeah.
Exactly.
know.
Oh
That was
yeah.
my next
La
question.
Sandra Bullocks.
Sandra Bullock, and she really is like kind of what you see on screen, all that energy and the peppy and the thing. She's like that, you know. And Speed was very different because usually when you're doing a movie, everybody has their trailer and everybody has their dressing room, and then you show up in the morning, you get made up in wardrobe, and then you go in your trailer, and then when they're ready for you, they come and they get you, and you go on the set, whatever, and you shoot your scene, whatever it is, and then it's like when you're done, and everybody goes back to their trailer, and they're in the trailer reading or doing whatever they do. On Speed, we really were shooting the whole thing in motion on
Wow.
this bus. And we were on this bus out on the freeway, so, and you would go like miles and miles out on the freeway, and then the scene would stop shooting, but everybody would stay in the bus because there was no, base camp where all the trailers were. We're like, it takes too long. So
Yeah.
we spent all those people in Speed on that bus. We spent 2 months basically going there every day and being locked up together in this bus pretty much all day long. So you just kind of had to socialize. You had to you got to get along. And then poor Keanu is trapped in there with all these actors, and he's like, oh my God, because it's just personality. But then you had Sandra on the other side, and she was like the cheerleader. Hey, what are we gonna do? Hey, let's throw food. Hey,
Wow.
everything like that. And it was perfect because everybody we would just party on the bus all day, and Keanu would join in. It's like great people. I love the guy. He's a terrific guy.
Oh,
That's
Awesome.
crazy because in this day and age, they'd probably just do that behind a green screen, right? And the bus would never move,
right.
Yeah. I was
right?
talking to another filmmaker about that, a couple of days ago, because we were talking the difference between old school filmmaking and now, where everything, you're right, everything is the green screen and stuff like that. And back then, like for example, when you watch Speed, because he was talking about how everything is CGI nowadays,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and it's this green screen and everything else is done in post-production. In fact, I remember reading an interview with Sir Ian McKellen, who plays Gandalf, in those, what
Yeah.
is it, Lord of the Rings or
Lord of the
something
Rings.
like that. And somebody was asking him about that one day. He's like, what's it like to work on the Lord of the Rings movies? And he said, well, because he is a theater guy from way, way back.
Yeah.
I saw him do King Lear on stage about 4 years ago here in LA. He's a
Wow.
stone theater actor. So I
Yeah.
said, well, what is it like working on those Lord of the Rings things? He says, well, it's rather tedious, because it's just you standing there
Really?
saying your lines to an assistant in front of a green screen. There's no, you're not on a set, nothing is real. It's like, what are you working with? And but Speed was not like that. Speed was old school. All the stunts. There's only one CGI in Speed, and that is when the bus jumps on the freeway,
Right.
and the
Yeah.
bus jumps over the gap in the freeway. that there was no gap. I mean, the bus came and it went up a ramp and it leapt and then it landed on the concrete and busted the oil pan, and so much so for that bus. By the way, there were 10 buses
What?
playing.
10 buses?
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn, man, it just broke my dreams. Chingao, I thought that was real.
Oh, yeah, you see. Oh,
Just
I'm
shattered
giving
my
away.
dreams.
I'm giving away the secrets of Hollywood.
It's all
Yeah,
in work.
yeah. No, no, no. Listen, man, for real. I mean, think about it. Because again, that he really wanted, the director really wanted to shoot on a bus moving down the freeway. You know,
Yeah.
none of this special effect and stuff. So they had to figure out, okay, well, how do you make a movie in a moving bus? Because you know, when you make a movie, you have to do the exterior shots, you have to do the
Right.
close-ups, you have to do the crowd scenes, all that kind of stuff. So they had to figure out a way that they could get all those. Because, for example, there's a scene where Keanu goes under the bus.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
how are you going to get a camera down there? You know,
Oh.
and all those scenes of Sandra driving up in the front of the bus. You know, how are you going to shoot Sandra's face? You know, the people looking out of the windshield. So, and inside the bus, how do you shoot? Where do you put the camera inside of a bus?
Yeah.
So it was really, really clever. They ended up with 10 different buses for different purposes.
Mhm.
Like, for example, if you're going to shoot inside the bus, you have to light, you know, so where are you going to put the lights inside of a bus that's moving? So what they did is they created a bus where they put, first of all, it was towing a generator behind the bus to provide the power.
Mm.
Then they put all of the lighting equipment on the roof of the bus, and they put these reflector panels, you know, that were hanging off the side of the bus. So the lights would hit the reflectors and bounce inside of the bus.
Yeah.
But if you see the bus from the outside, it looked like a big giant bug or something with wings. Or something,
With
you
wings
know?
on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know. And then inside the bus, they put, you know, the handrails that you hold onto the bus, you know, and stuff like that. They put like dollies with wheels, plastic wheels, and they roll them on those things, you know,
Oh,
and they
nice.
hung the cameras from them, you know, like on rubber, big rubber bands and stuff like that,
Mm.
you know, for shock absorbers, and then they could roll those things up and down the aisle, you know, to shoot inside of the bus. But then when you're going to shoot a scene where you see the bus racing by, you can't have all that crap hanging off
Right.
the bus. So they
Yeah,
needed a
no.
bus for that. You
Yeah.
know, the bus for like going under the bus, they took a bus and they jacked it up. It looked like a jacked up lowrider, you know. So you could fit stuff underneath the bus, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, you get the idea. You know, there was another bus where they took the windshield out and created a big plexiglass box. They attached a big plexiglass box with a platform on it in front of the windshield, so they could put cameras there and shoot them in for, you know, like people driving the bus, you know, that was on a bus that had no windshield, you know,
Yeah.
because there was a platform built out there for cameras, you know. So, I mean, you know, it added up to 10 different buses. And the bus that did the jump, which is how I started all this, it was just one bus just for that.
Mm.
You
Wow.
know, and that was one take. It was only good, they could only do it once. So that bus had a special, all the seats were taken out. They built a big giant roll cage in the center of the bus,
Yeah.
you know, and the stunt driver was sitting in there with a helmet and stuff like that. And then they put dummies of all of us in the windows and shit. And then that bus went about 2 miles up the freeway, because it takes a long time to get a big ass bus like that up to speed.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they had cameras set up. They must have had about 10 cameras pointed at that ramp in the middle of the freeway. And then the guy came roaring from way, way back, and then he hit that ramp and the bus went up. And the one thing they hadn't thought about, and you can notice this if you see the movie, because everybody was thinking, okay, the bus is going to go up in an arc and then land on the other side. On the day, the bus went up and then tipped up, you know, and then it traveled through the air,
Wow.
pointing straight up in the air.
Yeah.
So when it landed on its ass and
Ass
cracked the
first,
engine
yeah.
open, and that was the end of that bus. That bus, one shot in the whole movie. But then they figured out later, too late, that when you go to the airport and you see the jets take off, the reason they don't take off and go up on their ass is because they got the little wings in the back. And that's
Yeah.
what before. Those are
Órale,
the stabilizers.
órale.
Yeah.
Right.
Those are
Yeah.
the ones that make it go up, at an angle. And so nobody put wings on the bus, and the bus went up like that and landed on its ass. But it was interesting. But all I'm saying, the point is no CGI in Speed.
No
It was
CGI.
all real. And because
That's
there was
why.
yeah.
That's why he didn't want to do Speed 2, because he didn't want to deal with 10 boats.
I know, huh?
Fuck that.
I'm enough for this shit.
No, I think he didn't want to do Speed 2 because it didn't make any sense, man.
Didn't
How
make
do you
any
go
sense.
from a bus that can't go below 50 to a big ship?
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, what is that? Man.
Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
don't have much love for Speed 2 because it didn't bring us all back.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, hell yeah.
So
Yeah.
what was it like? What was it like going from, because you were really in prison in some of the scenes, right?
Yeah.
From Blood In, Blood Out. So what was it like working in there with
Yeah, 'cause that's big production.
Was it really San Quentin?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it really was. Really was. The director of Blood In, Blood Out, Taylor Hackford, he's a big time Hollywood director, man.
Yes, sir.
He's won a bunch of Oscars and stuff.
Yep.
He's made a bunch of other movies that you may or may not have seen,
Ray?
like Officer and a Gentleman and Ray. Yeah, Ray. I think Ray won a couple Oscars or
Yeah.
something. Anyway,
Raise
Oh,
the
yeah.
shit.
yeah, Taylor's heavyweight, man, the heavyweight director, and much respect to him. I mean, Blood In, Blood Out happened because of Taylor to a great extent, But because he's big time Hollywood and he's a totally dedicated actor, he wanted the authenticity. So he wanted a real person, and he told the studio, and then they zeroed in on San Quentin. And everybody came, the executives were all trying to talk him out of it. Like, no, man, you don't know, you don't understand. Blah. We'll get you a prison and blah, blah, blah. In fact, I remember they were talking about there was some prison in Atlanta or someplace that had just closed down, but the whole building was still there. And they were like, hey, we'll get you this place. We'll dress it all up, whatever. We'll hire extras. No. I want the reality. And Taylor insisted on it. So, they approached San Quentin and everything, and San Quentin said, well, okay. I mean, okay, we'll talk about it. But it became very complicated. There were all these caveats and all these things, including the fact that we all had to sign releases.
All right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, before they would allow us in there, we had to sign a piece of paper that said, we understand that the state of California does not negotiate in hostage situations.
Oh,
Shit.
shit.
And we agree to these conditions, which meant that if when we were in there, some of the cons or some decided, oh, we're going to grab this Hollywood vato and we're going to hold him in here and shit. Yeah. They're no negotiating. And everybody in the cast, crew, actors, everybody had to sign that release, man. And yeah, we went in there, bro, and it was rough. It was rough. It was rough.
Really? Was it?
I remember the first time they took us up, a couple of weeks before the actual shooting production went up there. They just took us up on a field trip, and I remember the first time we walked out there with the corrections guys to this big wall that looked out over the yard. And as soon as the first side of that yard, man, it tells you the whole story right there, man, because the territories were pretty obvious. You had the Aryan guys over here, and you had the black guys over there, and the Chicanos over there. And it was really interesting because it was a little fenced in area in the middle of the yard with like some smoke coming out of it. And we were all like, what is that? And they said, oh, that's the Native Americans. That's the Native Americans. Because they sued the state of California for their sacred land, and they won. So they have a little patch right in the middle of the yard, and that's the Native Americans in there, They have a sweat lodge.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know it either, brother.
His knowledge.
Yeah, but but I'm seeing, but you look at it, man, and I just remember sitting up there going, man, this should be a high school field trip, man. For all
Right.
of our youth, man, when they're at that age and they all think they're bad and they're running around the neighborhood and blah, blah, blah stuff because I'm bad, I'm bad. It's like, yeah, okay, let's put y'all in a bus and take you up there and see where
Yeah.
you end up because it's no fun in there, man. It's no fun. No fun. And the other
That's
thing that really, really struck me the first time we were in there, which I never thought of, is how goddamn noisy it is.
Oh yeah.
Damn.
That's
In the
it.
joint, man, that shit is noisy. I mean, you got, well, San Quentin, that's 5,000 guys in there, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
You go in there and they're all screaming at the same time and they're yelling and banging shit around and stuff like that. And it's like, whoa, I would lose my mind, man, because that goes on all day long. I mean, it's just the noise. You never think about that. The level of noise in there, man. You
Yeah.
know, plus all the security we had to go through to get in and out of there every single day. I mean, no, it was real. That was very real. And in fact, while we were in there shooting, there were 2 killings.
Wow.
While
Oh
we were
wow.
there. Yeah. One day we were all shooting out in the yard or something like that. And all of a sudden, all the sirens start going off and hit the ground, hit the ground. Everybody's like, and the movie people are like, what's going on? What is happening? And the corrections guys go, lockdown, we're locking down. Everybody, because then when they lock, everybody get back to the cells. And go to poor old Taylor. He's out there going, but I haven't finished my shot. I need I need to do the reverse.
Wow.
he's like, Nimolo, use it.
No, Hollywood.
Exactly. He's like, no,
No,
you're
no,
going
no.
now, brother.
Yeah, this is a real prison now. There's no set, no, that was real, man. That was real. But it's true though. I mean, it comes through when you see it because you see all those prison scenes and all those guys in the background. They're the real deal.
Right.
They're the real deal. Damn.
And you know what I'm saying? Like when I watched it, and your character first comes out in the cafeteria, you know what I'm saying? Like you if you've known somebody or you got somebody related that's locked down, you know what I'm saying? Like that's how it's like in there. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so when your character's first introduced and you come out and you grab that dude's hand and you're just like, hey, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
Cinderella.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like there's hustlers like that, man. Like you just came so real with that character, brother. The
Yeah.
whole movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm like, because I try to picture different people in different, how they did with the Godfather, how, you know what I'm saying, certain people were supposed to play Michael and this and that, but like each person in that movie, man, fit that niche perfect.
It's
and
true.
and you fit that Popeye, that hustle character, you know what I'm saying, even after he got out and
Yeah,
he was
in and
hustling,
out the joint.
Miklo. You know what I'm saying? It's like that you stuck with that hustler, and I guess it's because of the theatrics. You know what I'm saying? You had that character the whole movie, man, and it was awesome. I give you mad props for that, bro, because
Thank you.
you never switched up. That's what made it to me so believable. Your character.
Yeah, like
Thank you.
that scene when you open the door and you look all fucked up. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had some of those mornings, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It seems so real.
I knew people like that too.
Right, bro.
Like it was
Straight
just
up.
100% legit.
Like it's amazing how once you were on screen, remember when they raided the house and
Yeah.
you're just cruising?
Yeah.
Like you could just tell you're
Yeah.
up to no good. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. No, seriously.
Great job, man. I love it.
Thank you guys. Thank you. It was fun. It was fun to me to do. I mean, I really enjoyed playing that character. I think part of it because he was such an asshole, so sly. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yes, he was slick. He was a
It's
hustler.
like, this guy, it was just me.
Yup.
Oh yeah.
And it's crazy how like in this day and age how it just survives. Like if you really think about it, Popeye could be like the king of memes.
Oh
They
yeah.
Yeah.
go on forever.
Yeah,
Oh
You know what I'm
man.
saying?
I
Well, I'm
mean,
sure you guys have seen all the
No
memes.
memes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, no memes. See, I
No
like that.
memes, way.
You should start
I
saying that.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's part of the thing I was talking about before about the internet, man. Is like people send me shit like, "Hey, have you seen this one? Have you seen that one?" Because of all of the memes, man. I'm so like,
Yeah.
wow, you know. Um, somebody sent me one like last week because R. Kelly got convicted and shit,
Right.
and they
yeah.
didn't waste any time, man. They put it together, me and the R. Kelly, like,
Yeah.
like R. Kelly gonna get him some chun chun.
Oh, that's right. That's
Hell
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's fun. It's fun, and yeah, Popeye's actually fun because he's so fucking self-centered and evil and nasty, and
Yeah.
it's like, my favorite line of the whole thing is like, "Tell him to suck my pee pee."
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 Definitely.
That's like, it was a fun part to play. It was great. It was fun.
That's so great, man.
Awesome,
I,
man.
I want to bring something up that I don't know if a lot of people realize, but you also did some work on GTA San Andreas.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
really?
that is true.
Really?
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know if a lot of
Because
people know that.
well, you know what? When you're an actor, you gotta and if you're not a star, so people are constantly throwing projects your way and stuff like that. You gotta hustle too, and you gotta
Yeah.
figure out ways to pay the rent. I mean, because you can work on a movie like Speed or Blood In, Blood Out or something, but those jobs, they have a limited window. I
Yeah.
mean, an average film usually and if you really on for the whole film, so you're working for 2-3 months or so,
Hmm.
and you make good money and whatever, but then it's over, and then what are you going to do? And if you don't have the next one lined up again, you got to figure out, you got to pay the rent. And one of the things that I was lucky enough to find out when I was still in New York is that there's a whole bunch of work just with voice. You can, there are people that are just voice actors. And because I'm originally from Latin America, I speak Spanish. That's how I first discovered that, because I was doing a play in New York in Spanish. And after the performance one night, these two cute little Chilean ladies came backstage and to meet all of the cast. And they were like, we're putting together a studio and we want voice actors, because they were dubbing. They were doing dubs of English language things into Spanish. So they just needed actors who were fully bilingual and could do that. And so they offered it, so I started doing that. And then I realized, and then it's like work generates work, because word gets around, like, oh, this guy, he knows how to do that kind of stuff. And so then I started booking commercials, voiceovers in commercials.
Hmm.
Here's something you didn't know: I was the voice of Jack in the Box in Spanish for 12 years.
What the?
God damn, I didn't know that
Really?
shit.
Yeah. There's.
Yeah,
And I've seen the
all
commercials.
the guy with the big head and
Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I was his voice for 12 years. Hola, les habla Jack. Estamos comiendo un especial. Ahora tenemos el Jack Burger con, whatever.
Damn.
I did that for
awesome,
12 years,
man.
bro.
I'll never
Voice.
look at a Jack in the Box the same.
That's right. That's Popeye in there. No.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's Popeye.
I was just gonna say that.
No, that's a guy that wore the head and stuff. I just did the voice in Spanish.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying there is a whole set of opportunities in the acting profession just to do voice. And that leads to working also on games. So I've voiced on a bunch of games, characters and stuff like that. Yeah, and I was in what is that? The one you mentioned. That was one of my
GTA.
Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, Grand Theft
Yeah,
Auto.
I did a bunch of voices on that. I've done something called Icewind Dale. I don't know what. A bunch of games, and because that's part of the gig. That's part of how you make a living in this business.
Yeah.
Hey, that GTA San Andreas is a massive stripe to have, though. That game is like the best GTA ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
You know what I
But
mean?
now
Loved by many, many.
I will say something now as a union member, because I am in the union. Um, and the thing about the games that is a little sad is that the games don't have a good contract for the performers. I'm just going to
Yeah.
say this real fast and get off of it. When you work on a film or a TV show or something like that, part of your contract includes something that is called residuals. And what that means is that every time that thing is run, you know, every time you see Speed on TV, or anything else, all those actors that are up there, they're going to get a check, you know. It might not be a gigantic check because, residuals are on a sliding scale. When the first few times the checks are kind of big and then they keep sliding down and eventually it settles to whatever. And it also has to do with the volume of usage and stuff like that. But basically, your contract includes residual payments for the use of your face, your voice, your performance, etc. Games don't. That one
Games
got
don't
through
do
the
that.
cracks. Yeah, and
Yeah.
so, like you talking about GTA, the guy that did the main character in that, this is a perfect example of that. Do you know how much money that game has made over the years? I mean,
Forget about it.
And still making, because
and
it just got remade.
still making it. Well, homeboy got $100,000. Go away.
And that's it.
Man.
Yeah.
That's it.
Damn.
Because that's that contract. So
Wow.
and the thing about it is that having worked on some games, that shit is hard work, man. Because the thing is like say on a normal script, it's like, yeah, blood in, blood out. It's like, okay, you're playing Popeye, these are your scenes, and and you work your way through the scenes and you do all the scenes. If it's a game, can you imagine if Blood in, Blood Out was a game? Because with a game, you go like, okay, door number 1, door number 2, whatever. Do you kill the dragon? Do you go up there? Do you blow up the thing? And then there's a different script for all of those different scenarios, So you record the one about like, yeah, when you went and shot the guy, but then you got to go back and you record the one where no, you ran out the window instead and the shit happened over there. And so the recording sessions for those games are long, long, long days and really intense. And because a lot of those games are like physical stuff, physical action and run and shoot and jump, you're also recording like all of the efforts, and they're like, over there, no,
Oh shit!
and you
All right.
do that for hours and you rip out your voice.
Yeah.
It's tough work. It's tough work. And so I'm just saying, I'm just putting that out there. Hopefully things will change and we'll get a new contract one day for the games because they kind of slipped through the crack.
Yeah, you got to push
Well,
that.
my favorite line, if I remember it correctly, on San Andreas was, fuck, how did it go? What goes good with the aftertaste of pussy? I think that's what you had said. Like, what goes good with the aftertaste of pussy? I was like, what the fuck is this?
Man, that's
On the
hardcore,
video
man.
game?
Yeah, I know. I remember
Like,
seeing
God.
that stuff in the script, and I'm like, really? They're gonna do this? The whole other
What
world.
kind of game is this?
I was like, what, like 18, 16, 17, I don't know, playing that shit. I hear that. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
That's crazy. It's dope, though. It's cool.
yeah, I
Speaking of
know.
that, what kind of advice would, because we were talking a little bit off screen, what kind of advice would you give somebody that's up and coming, that's thinking about trying to get into the business? Like right now, me and the boys, we always talk, well, me and KFT always talk about Sons of Anarchy and the Mayans and how that's doing very well right now. They ended their 4th season. There's supposed to be season 5 coming up, which is an awesome thing because I think Sons of Anarchy had like 8 seasons.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so what would you give like a young Latina actor or actress that is trying to make it into the business? Like, what advice would you give them? Start out with theater, start out with some college.
Yeah, well, you're kind of going in the right direction because the first thing that I would say is get yourself some education. Now that doesn't mean you got to go and get a PhD or something like that or the other. But the thing that people need to understand is that acting is a craft, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
and it's a misconception to think, I'm good looking, man, and I'm tough. I'm tougher than anybody on the block, and so I'm just gonna walk. It's like, no, that's bullshit, man. It's like anything else, man. It's a craft. If you want to be a rock star and you want to, be a million selling recording artist, you've still got to learn how to play the guitar.
Yeah.
You don't just walk out
Definitely.
there and, hey, whatever. You want to be a painter. You have to learn, colors and pick and how to paint and, how does the brush work? Anything, you want to paint lowriders and shit. You don't just grab a can of paint and,
Oh, fuck no.
you have to learn. It's a craft. It is a craft and a discipline, and you have to learn it. And so that's what I mean when I say educate yourself. You don't there's nothing worse. People a lot of times say in show business, like, study, 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 what to be prepared, because you never know when that break is going to come. But when that break comes, you need to be ready, bro. You need to be
Yeah.
ready.
Fuck yeah.
It could be something as basic as, like, okay, I'm going to audition for Sons of Anarchy, and then you go, hey, yeah, I'm bad. Look, I got a leather jacket. And they say, fine, get on the Harley and ride it around the block. And then you go over there and you don't know how to start up the Harley. I mean,
Yeah.
that's education. That's a piece of craft that you have to learn. And the same thing is true with acting. Acting isn't just like, I'm just going to say a bunch of words. You have to figure out how to break down a script, how to analyze the words on the paper, how to break them up and stuff. And then you also have to learn how to center yourself, how to act natural. I mean, that's all shit that you have to learn. So
Yeah.
you gotta go take some acting classes, learn the basic language. It's like anything else. You want to be a carpenter, you got to go and learn what a hammer is and how to measure a piece of wood and shit like that. It's the same thing. You got to
Yeah.
go and learn your voice. You need to train your voice, man, because it isn't just like, whatever. It's different. It depends now. If you were in film, it's not quite as demanding because everything is mic'd up and everything like that. But don't you go and step on a stage, and think that with the way you talk in your living room is going to work on a theater. It's not. You have to learn that. You have to train for that. Now, I will also say, when I say educate yourself, it also doesn't hurt to, like, open your eyes to things like you might not think of, like go to a museum, go look at art, read a book, listen to some music, study
Yeah.
other cultures, go travel, see how other people live. Because a lot of acting also comes down to observation. That's part of
Okay.
the craft of acting. It's like, okay, I got this script. How am I going to play this guy? Well, let me go and find other guys that maybe are close to this and just observe them, the way they walk, the way they move, whatever. You have to be educated. All of this stuff helps. I mean, suppose you get cast in a period piece, because these things we're talking about, those are contemporary, but all of the opportunities are not just in contemporary stuff. I mean, you know what? I worked on Star Trek. I've
Yep.
done a bunch of
I was
Star
about to
Treks.
bring that up.
Yeah, and played a Klingon and shit like that. And the first time I
That's
got
awesome.
cast in Star Trek, I called up my buddy who was a regular on the show, and he was an actor that I had met on stage. We worked on stage together at the Mark Taper Forum doing a Shakespeare play.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I actually, believe it or not, I'm a trained Shakespearean actor.
Hey.
You didn't know that, did you?
No.
That's
To
why
be or
Popeye
not
kicks
to
ass.
be. To be or not to be,
See?
Popeye.
Yeah,
But my homie had we did this play, Richard II, and then right after that he got cast in Star Trek Deep Space Nine as Quark. No, he was the Ferengi, the guy with the big butt head. And so then I got cast in an episode, and I called him up and I said, dude, what is the secret to Star Trek acting? And he said, don't worry about it, man. You're going to be fine. because what they thrive on here is classically trained actors. And I realized that when it was true, because once I got the script and you start reading that stuff, I was a Klingon, but they all talk elevated, you
Yeah.
know? And I said, and it's like, I'm like, I was so glad that I knew how to do that with language because I had learned how to do that in order to do Shakespeare.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when you're working on Star Trek, one of the challenges of it is just all of the makeup and stuff. And when you're a Klingon, you know how long it takes to become a Klingon? 3.5 hours
Oh, wow.
in the makeup chair. Because
Damn.
that is serious shit. You know,
Yeah.
you got to go in a couple of weeks earlier because they take molds of your face and your teeth and stuff like that, you know, because you got to have Klingon teeth and then you got to have the forehead and all that kind of stuff. And then you go in on the day and they sit you in that chair for 3.5 hours, man, of just putting layers and layers and layers and then all the hair and stuff. And I remember the first time I did it, when the makeup was almost done, and then they reached out and came out with an air gun, you know, and I'm like, what is that? Because the final, you know, layer of like whatever is paint. It's literally paint, you know. And they spray it out with the air gun and stuff. And then they say, and by the way, when you're done today, don't you dare try to take that stuff off yourself. You got to come back in the chair because we have to take it off. Otherwise, you will rip your skin off.
What?
And it's true. So 3.5 hours just to go in, an hour and a half to get out of them. That's just the makeup. And then when you're done with the makeup, then they put on the whole Klingon outfit, and it's like a suit of armor and the stuff and the giant boots and all that kind of stuff. And they said, you know, not every actor can do this. We've had actors freak out in the chair and quit. Like, no, and run out. Because, but again, that's where like the theater training and the classical background and stuff comes in. Because when you do classical theater, you're used to that. You're used to having all these big things, these costumes and the capes and so forth and so on. And you've worked out how, in spite of having all of these physical obstacles, you can still become somebody and say your words and have them come out clear and stuff like that. To me, that's part of also what I mean about educate yourself. You know, you got to learn different things. And then there's one last piece of advice that I would give to anybody wanting to know how to break into this business. Do not be an asshole.
Yeah.
All right.
Do not be an asshole. And that is so important because I'll tell you why. This business, if you do break into it, is small. It's a small world. And when you're working on something like a feature film or something like Mayans or something like that, you literally have hundreds of people involved.
Yeah.
And they're on the clock, you know. And you got a producer sitting up there in the office and he's doing the numbers and stuff and go, oh shit, this is costing me a lot of money. What, oh, overtime again? Whatever. You know, average crew, say on a feature film, you got at least on a given day, you can have 120 people working on that thing. And the clock is ticking and it costs money. And the last thing anybody needs is for some asshole in the middle of all that to get all diva and shit like that, or, oh, you know, whatever, and I won't do it, and this and that, or, you know, whatever. I'll be in my trailer. Nobody needs that. Right. It's too complicated. There's too much money involved. There's, you know, it's whatever. So you want to be an asshole, fine. But you know what? The word's going to get out. The word is going to get out. And it's a small industry. And soon the jobs and the calls are going to dry up. And you're going to be sitting there, you know, with your cocktail going, how come nobody calls me? I'm just so wonderful. I'm so great. Now because you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
And you hold everybody else up and nobody needs that. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
Awesome, man.
Very true, brother.
But
Thank
Carlos,
you, man. I appreciate that. Hey, I got another one. You've learned so much, like you said, you're a student of the game, and you learned just beyond acting. And if I'm not mistaken, we talked a little bit. You got into producing, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you. Oh, you reminded me. Why am I here? I'm here to promote something.
Yeah, that's my next
Yeah.
question. Yeah, that's what we're gonna ask you.
Tell them what you got.
Last thing I'll say. Okay, I do a film festival. I produce a film festival every year.
Okay.
It is called the Panamanian International Film Festival in honor of where I am from, which is originally Panama, and the fact that I had to leave Panama because there was no film industry, nothing going on when I was coming up. Now there is, and there's a new film industry coming up. A lot of good filmmakers, a lot of good stuff going on. And I thought 8 years ago, I said, you know what? I'm in Hollywood and whatever, and I have a little bit of cred. How about if I started showing some of those films in Hollywood, and maybe try to get people hooked up, and get dialogues going between North America, Latin America, stuff like that. So I started this thing with that in mind. And then every year we did it, we started opening up the door more and more. So today it's an international festival for Latinos and for Latino language films. I show films from everywhere from Panama, Argentina, Cuba, Costa Rica, all of the Latino countries, and from up here in USA, East LA, all over the US. And we show these films, and the point about it is to bring our communities together.
Right.
Because it's also, we are all more alike than we are different culturally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We share so many things together, and we just express them in different and interesting ways, and I love to do that because every year when I put on this film, it usually runs for about 2-3 days, and I get films from all over the place. And to me, I love that I get to show kids in East LA films from Argentina, and the people from Argentina get to see things from, whatever. And so we got this whole cultural mix thing going on that has grown into collaborations, which was the whole point in the first place. We also reach out into education opportunities. We go to schools, we go in the community. I partner with another film festival now, the East LA Film Festival. And my homeboy, Juan Escobedo, who runs that, does a lot of work with young people. You talk about how do you get into the business, and Juan, we partner and we make films with little kids. We go to grade schools and we teach them how to make their own little films and write their scripts and stuff, and it's great.
That's awesome.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, man. And then we run their little films in the festival. We'll have a little block, where you see the things that the kids are doing. And that is so cool when you see like a little 8th grader or something like that, and they see like a movie, like, whoa, up on the big screen. That is so cool. And it's
massive inspiration.
Oh, yeah, man. And it's also because it's important for all of us. What you said before about there weren't so many brown faces, when you were first coming up. Well, that's part of the mission, man. We want more brown faces up there. And we have so many stories to tell. We have such a rich culture, man. Yes. And so part of what we're trying to do is to help people learn how they can tell those stories, awesome. And to know that there are outlets for these stories, places like this film festival, because I will show your thing, man. I've shown lowrider films, I've shown music videos and stuff like that as part of the festival, exposing them to the general audience here in Hollywood. And that's my film festival. And right now, I'm trying to figure out how to do it again because the pandemic hit us hard, and I was getting to a place where I could make finance the festival. I was getting grants from the state. I was getting some private donors, corporate donors and stuff that were helping. I don't make a penny out of this, and I don't want a penny because that's not why I do it. I get pasta, my feria from someplace else. This is just for all of those reasons that I want to do it. That's my reward. When I see the little kid go, oh my God, look at my movie, but this year, for the first time, I'm having to reach out to the community, for their help in order to get this thing to happen. It doesn't cost that much, but it does cost because you got to hire a theater, you got to hire a crew, you got to do publicity, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
this year, I'm trying to raise just the basic amount, the basic nut through crowdfunding, which is something that I've never done before, and I'm learning all about it now. I'm having to learn how to do Instagram and TikTok and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of fun, actually, But I'm working with these people that specialize in that. And they helped me put together a crowdfunding page. And this is my pitch. Anybody that wants to help us pull this off this year needs to go to http www all that stuff supportourstory.com /Panafest22, because that's the name of the festival, Panafest. And the website is supportourstory.com/Panafest22. And if you just go on there, you'll get the whole story. You'll see a video of me talking and asking for money and stuff, and you'll see some videos and photos in there of what it's like to do the festival and the little kids and all that kind of stuff. The whole pitch is there. And then there's a place on the site called incentives, and there's a whole list of different things that you can get for your contribution, starting with nada. You can just give $5 if you want, and it goes all the way up to $1,000. If you click on the $1,000, you get your name all over the festival and as a sponsor. But if you just go to supportourstory.com/Panafest22, that is where you could help me out to make this festival happen again this year. We're planning on doing it on the last weekend of September. We've already got films coming in, it's looking good. I'm going to be teaming up with the East LA Film Festival again this year, and we're going to do it again, man. And with your help, please, we can pull it off one more time. All right, guys?
Awesome.
Definitely, brother.
Everything counts, man. Everything counts. It's
Everything
beautiful.
Hey, $5, it's whatever. Whatever,
Yeah.
do what you can.
Yeah, I'll throw some in for
Exactly.
sure. I'll throw
Ain't
some
nothing
in.
better than paying for a good cause. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's right, man. That's
Especially
right.
help out kids and all that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome, man.
It's for
And
the comunidad.
Ash is the man. So what he'll do is at the bottom of this, he'll in our description that goes on YouTube, he'll put all that information and like the tags, the hyperlinks. He'll put all that down there. So yup, he'll put all that down there. So we
There
can
it
get
is.
it out. There it is. Yup. So we get that out for you, brother.
Yep. All right, man. Supportourstory.com.
Hey, I just got one thing, brother, before we leave. Could you give us your favorite line? Can you give us your favorite line from the movie?
Tell him to suck his pee-pee.
I
I
got
love it, man. I love
Yeah.
it.
one more.
Yeah. You know
And he
what?
could-
You know what? KFC, I saw you get up and walk across the room a little while ago. And you know what, Manny? She looked a little bow-legged to me.
Oh my God.
Fuck
Thank
yeah.
you so much, brother.
Shit.
All right, guys.
Oh,
Give a thumbs up if you know what's up, and give a thumbs down if you're down. Peace.
Puck's head is a shit!